Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, we're jumping straight into a big one today. Failure.
Yeah, it's a topic that makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
Exactly. But we've gathered some really interesting sources that flip the script a bit. They challenge that old view of failure as just, well, a personal flaw or the end of the road.
Right. Instead, we're looking at it as something inevitable, maybe even necessary for any big project or, what the sources call an epic journey.
So our mission today, it's really about shifting your mindset, helping you see failure differently.
We want to make the case that failure isn't just a possibility you try to dodge.
And
It's an unavoidable life lesson, something you almost need to seek out in a way.
if you're trying something genuinely new, something hard, you're probably going to stumble.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. The only people who can honestly say they've never failed are probably those who've never really tried anything ambitious or outside their comfort zone.
Okay, let's unpack this. If failure is inevitable, we need to talk about preparation, which sounds, well, kind of backwards, right? Why prep for something you hope doesn't happen?
It does feel counterintuitive at first.
Yeah, but the foundational shift we kept seeing in the sources is moving from thinking, if I fail, which is hopeful, to acknowledging when I fail. It's a subtle language change, but it makes a huge difference.
It really does. That simple shift prepares you. It takes away some of the shock when a setback does happen because you've already accepted it as part of the process.
So you're not completely derailed by it.
Exactly. It's like building a buffer for your ambitions. Think of it like an insurance policy.
Okay.
You buy home insurance or car insurance hoping you never, ever have to use it.
Right. Fingers crossed.
But you have it, because if something does go wrong, that policy is there to cushion the blow, to minimize the really catastrophic consequences. Preparing for failure is kind of like that. It's your intellectual insurance policy for your big goals.
And the flip side, the danger of not preparing, of being too confident. Well, the Titanic is just a perfect chilling example, isn't it?
It really is. Famously unsinkable.
Right. And that wasn't just about the engineering, was it? It was a failure of mindset, a failure of imagination.
Precisely. The engineers, the designers, they were so convinced by their own technology, so overconfident, that they didn't seriously consider the what-ifs, like hitting an iceberg. That belief that they were somehow immune to that kind of failure. It cost over 1,500 lives.
It's a harsh lesson.
It is, and it shows, paradoxically perhaps, that the more you think about what could go wrong and actually plan for it,
The less likely it is to actually happen, or at least to be devastating if it does.
exactly, you often prevent the problem in the first place, or at least manage it better.
So thinking about failure isn't defeatist, it's actually empowering.
It absolutely is, because when you've already thought through some plan Bs, when that storm hits, and it probably will, in some form, you're ready.
You can pivot. You can recover without falling into that negative self-talk spiral.
Yes, that spiral is the real killer of momentum. If you wait until the setback happens to figure out what to do next, you've lost time, you've lost energy, and you've probably let the negative emotions take over.
Preparation keeps your eyes on the prize, even if you stumble.
Keeps you focused on the bigger goal. Yeah,
Man.
even with a tactical misstep.
But, okay, to keep that goal alive, you first have to know what failure even looks like for you in this specific context. We're good at defining success right in the finish line,
Very good at that.
but we rarely define failure clearly. We need to ask ourselves, what specific outcome actually means I've failed here? And crucially, is that standard? Is it even realistic?
That realism part is key. Ambition is great, but sometimes it clashes with the patience needed for real progress. And that clash, it sets you up to fail.
Like the marathon example you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. If you've never run before and you say, okay, if I can't run 26.2 miles a month from now, I'm a failure, well, you're almost certainly going to fail by that measure.
Yeah, that's setting yourself up. It's ego, not a realistic training plan.
Right. You're guaranteeing a setback and the feeling of failure that comes with it.
Instead, the sources really push for setting realistic, measurable milestones. Don't just judge the whole journey by the final destination.
You need those smaller wins, those checkpoints you can tick off. It builds confidence.
So if the big dream is, say, helping millions, you don't just leap there.
No way. You break it down. Maybe first you need to connect with dozens of people, then hundreds.
One source gave a concrete example, aiming to sell out maybe 6 small events, 100 people each, by a certain date.
Yeah, that's specific and measurable.
And if you only sell out 5, or when an event doesn't quite hit the mark.
That's data. It's information. It tells you something needs tweaking. It's not a catastrophe that means you scrap the whole thing.
Which leads perfectly into this other crucial idea, distinguishing between a misstep and a catastrophic error. That seems vital for deciding whether to push through or pivot.
Absolutely. One author shared a story about missing a book deadline, a big one they'd set for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was supposed to be out spring 2021, didn't actually launch until February 2022, almost a year late.
Ouch. That would feel like a failure.
It felt awful, they said. A definite miscalculation, a significant delay, no question.
Man. Not catastrophic.
Exactly. The book still came out. The core project, the mission, was still intact. It wasn't like the publisher dropped it or the market vanished. That might be closer to catastrophic.
Okay, I see. So the delay was a misstep. It required adjusting the timeline, maybe rethinking the process, but not abandoning the goal itself.
Precisely. They separated the temporary outcome, the missed deadline, from the overall mission.
So once you identify that failure point, that misstep, that's the signal. Time to open a different door, maybe. Like Einstein's famous line.
The definition of insanity.
Yeah, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Failure is basically the universe giving you a loud, clear message. Try something else.
It really is. We saw a great career story illustrating this. Someone worked for years as a tech industry trainer, highly skilled, good at their job, but they kept losing jobs. Outsourced, downsized, department restructured. You name it, it happened again and again.
That sounds rough. And easy to internalize as personal failure.
Totally. But eventually they realized the pattern wasn't just about them, it was the role. Trainers, especially external ones, are often the last hired, first fired in tech cycles.
A structural issue, not just personal performance.
Right. Resisting that message, trying the same thing again, just prolonged the cycle of feeling like a failure. It took hitting a wall, basically, to ask.
Why am I doing this?
Exactly. Why pour all this energy into teaching someone else's material under their budget whims?
So what happened?
That realization, that forced pivot, led them to grad school. They started creating and teaching their own material. It turned out to be a way better fit, launching their own epic journey.
Wow. So the repeated failure actually revealed a much bigger opportunity.
It unlocked it. Working for others wasn't working. The failure showed the path to working for themselves.
That perspective shift is so powerful. Which brings us neatly to this idea of feeding success, not failure. And the 973 rule, tell me about that.
Okay, the 973 rule isn't some hard mathematical law. It's more of a psychological tool.
Got it.
It's designed to fight our natural human tendency to fixate on what went wrong. We tend to zoom in on the negative.
Guilty as charged.
We all are. So the rule encourages you, don't spend too much time or emotional energy on the, say, 3% of things that didn't go perfectly.
Right.
Because dwelling on that small negative part drains you.
Yeah.
It eats up your time, your focus.
Like that classic picnic analogy, right? You have a great 4-hour picnic, lovely weather, good food, fun company, and then it rains for just 10 minutes.
Right. A brief shower.
You wouldn't then go home and tell everyone the whole afternoon was ruined by those 10 minutes of rain.
Yeah.
That would be ridiculous.
Exactly. But we do that with our projects, our goals, even our days sometimes. We let that small 3% setback overshadow the 97% that actually went well.
And the cost isn't just feeling bad.
No. The real cost is the opportunity cost. The time and energy you spend stewing over that 3% failure is time and energy you could have spent building on the 97% success.
Okay. So if you spend 3 days agonizing over a missed deadline.
Those 3 days are gone. You can't get them back. And that lost energy might even contribute to the next setback. You've got to count your wins, however small, and reinvest that positive energy.
This whole perspective thing really clicks when you look at sports. Like baseball.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. A lifetime batting average of .300 is considered truly elite, Hall of Fame stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But what does .300 actually mean? It means the player fails to get a hit 70% of the time.
70%, when you put it like that.
Right. They strike out, they fly out, they ground out 7 times out of 10. But nobody focuses on that. Nobody says, wow, what a .700 failure rate that guy has.
No, they celebrate the hits, the successes.
Exactly. Success counts the wins. But in our own lives, we often get bogged down counting the losses. We need to adopt that baseball mindset for ourselves.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. We're moving beyond just mindset shifts now into an actual framework, the concept of intelligent failure.
Yes. This comes from Sim Sitkin, a professor at Duke, back in a 1992 article. The idea is that some failures aren't just okay. They're actually essential for learning and growth, both for individuals and organizations.
But it's not just any old mistake, right? There are rules.
Right. Not every screw-up qualifies as intelligent. Sitkin laid out 5 criteria. First, the failure has to come from something thought out, something planned, not just a random, careless error.
Okay, so it was an intentional attempt at something specific. What's second?
Second, the outcome needed to be genuinely uncertain or unpredictable beforehand. You were trying something where you really didn't know how it would turn out.
Makes sense, like a true experiment. Third,
The failure has to be modest and manageable. It can't be catastrophic. You can't learn much if the failure wipes you out completely.
right, no betting the farm on an unknown.
Fourth, you have to deal with it quickly. Learn the lesson fast. Don't waste time between the failed outcome and understanding why it failed.
Get the feedback loop going immediately. And fifth,
And fifth, the lesson learned has to connect to the bigger picture. It needs to provide useful insights for your overall goal or your organization. It can't just be an isolated data point.
so we're talking about like a well-designed experiment that just happened to yield negative results, not just a huge mess up.
Exactly. Imagine a company launching a small, planned beta test for a new feature that meets Criterion 1.
Okay.
And let's say the feature completely bombs with the beta tester's Criterion 2, unpredictable outcome, and 4, they get the feedback quickly.
So far, so good for intelligent failure.
But what if developing even that small beta test costs so much money it blew the entire R&D budget for the quarter?
Then it fails Criterion 3. It wasn't modest or manageable.
Precisely. The goal of intelligent failure is controlled risk-taking for learning. If the failure prevents you from trying again, it wasn't intelligent, it was probably reckless.
Got it. So intelligent failures help you find weaknesses, spot wasted effort, maybe ditch ideas that just aren't working without sinking the whole ship.
That's the idea, learning efficiently.
Now, we absolutely have to address the line here. We've been talking about failure being healthy, necessary, even intelligent, but there's clearly a point where refusing to acknowledge failure crosses over into something else.
Yeah.
Into fraud. Being honest seems critical.
Oh, absolutely critical. And Elizabeth Holmes' Theranos saga is just the ultimate cautionary tale, isn't it?
It really is.
The core problem started as a failure, a technical one. The Edison machines just didn't work reliably. That happens in R&D all the time.
Right. Technical hurdles are normal.
But instead of being upfront about those hurdles with investors, with partners like Walgreens, Holmes chose secrecy. She exaggerated success, pretended things were working when they weren't.
And she painted herself into a corner.
Yeah.
Especially with that huge Walgreens deal.
Exactly. Making that massive public commitment, knowing the tech couldn't deliver what she promised. That's where it tipped from operational failure, which might have been solvable, into deception, into fraud.
If she had been honest earlier about the challenges, about where they were failing.
Who knows, maybe she could have found an expert who could solve the technical problem. Maybe she could have raised more capital, honestly, bought more time, or maybe just pivoted the company sooner.
Instead of the company collapsing and facing serious charges.
Right. Honesty about failure keeps your options open. It protects your integrity, lets you ask for help. Denial, driven by ego or fear, forces you down a path of compounding deception. It rarely ends well.
Okay, so if failure can be productive, even intelligent, why are we still so scared of it? Why does that fear hold so many people back?
It's deeply ingrained, I think. But the sources suggest something interesting. If you never fail, maybe you've set your bar too low.
You're only playing in the safe zone.
Exactly. You're not stretching yourself. You can't let the fear of messing up stop you from attempting something potentially great. You have to choose ambition over guaranteed safety sometimes.
And we need to be okay with failure by comparison, maybe, especially early on.
Yes. That's a great way to put it. Imagine you're a young filmmaker. You pour your heart into a film, it gets nominated for a major award, maybe even an Oscar.
Wow, okay.
But you lose to Steven Spielberg.
Right. Happens all the time.
Technically, you failed. You didn't win the award. But would you really see that as a failure? Or would you see it as an incredible achievement just to be in the running alongside someone like Spielberg?
Definitely the achievement. You wouldn't have even been considered if you hadn't made the film, taken the risk.
Exactly. The attempt, getting into that arena, that's the win in that context.
Which reminds me of that quote from Tom Watson, the former IBM CEO.
Oh, the double your failure rate one.
Yeah. If you want to succeed, double your failure rate. Sounds catchy, but
Yeah.
is there a risk there? Did that encourage just being reckless?
That's a really fair question. And no, it doesn't mean double your careless mistakes or your catastrophic errors.
Okay.
It means double your attempts, double your experiments, double your engagement with those intelligent failures we talked about, the calculated, modest, manageable risks where you can learn quickly.
So it's about increasing the volume of learning opportunities.
Precisely. If you only take one big swing a year, your learning curve is pretty slow. But if you take 10 smaller, smarter swings, 10 intelligent failure attempts, you learn much, much faster. You accelerate your progress.
And speaking of accelerating attempts and sheer perseverance, we can't talk about failure without bringing up Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, absolutely. His track record before the presidency is just staggering.
It really is.
Yeah.
Let's see. Defeated for the Illinois State Assembly in 1832.
Suffered a serious personal loss. His sweetheart died in 1835, then a nervous breakdown in 1836.
Lost nominations for the U.S. House twice.
Defeated for U.S. Senator in 1854, then defeated again for U.S. Senator in 1858.
I mean, the number of times he put himself out there publicly and lost before finally winning the presidency in 1860. It's incredible persistence.
It perfectly illustrates the main point, doesn't it? Failing an election, even multiple times, didn't make him a failure.
No, it just meant he hadn't won yet. He was, like we said, a champion at trying.
He kept learning, kept adjusting, kept coming back. That resilience in the face of repeated setbacks is extraordinary.
So wrapping this all up, what's the practical takeaway for everyone listening?
I think it comes down to a few key actions. First, consciously define what failure would actually look like for your specific goal and be realistic about it.
Right. Set achievable milestones. Second, actively prepare for potential setbacks. Build that insurance policy.
Exactly. Mitigate the risks you can anticipate. And third, when missteps do happen, because they will actively look for the lesson. Treat it like data.
See mistakes as growth opportunities, not judgments on your worth.
Yes. And maybe think about regret, too. When people look back on their lives, what do they usually regret more?
Good question.
Is it the times they tried something and it didn't work out? Or is it the things they didn't try, the what-ifs?
Yeah, usually the what-ifs, right? What if I'd asked that person out? What if I'd started that business? Written that book?
Exactly. The regret of inaction often stings more and for longer than the temporary pain of trying and failing. Remembering, wasn't that awesome that I at least tried, is usually better than asking, what if I had?
Okay, so since failure is inevitable and intelligent failure is actually useful, here's a final thought, a challenge for you listening. What's one small, modest, and manageable risk you can take this week?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, one intentional attempt at something where the outcome is uncertain, something you can learn from quickly.
Yeah.
How can you deliberately try to double your personal intelligent failure rate this week just to gather some new data?
Go out there and learn something new by trying. Great final thought.